Hi there. It's me again, your social scientist. Today we will talk about one of the most controversial figures in recent times, Julian Assange. Assange is an Australian journalist, computer programmer, and founder of WikiLeaks, a non-profit organization that publishes secret and classified information from anonymous sources. Assange and WikiLeaks became famous in 2010 when they released a series of classified U.S. military and diplomatic documents. These documents, which were leaked by former U.S. Army soldier Chelsea Manning, contained information about U.S. war crimes in Iraq and Afghanistan, and diplomatic cables that revealed confidential conversations between U.S. diplomats and foreign leaders. Assange's actions made him a hero and a villain to others. Those who see him as a hero argue that he is a brave whistleblower who exposed the truth about the U.S. government's misconduct and war crimes. They believe he is a free speech defender, and the public has the right to know what their government is doing in their name. They also argue that his actions have inspired other whistleblowers to come forward and expose corruption and wrongdoing. On the other hand, those who see him as a villain argue that he is a dangerous criminal who risks lives by revealing classified information. They believe that his actions compromised national security and endangered the lives of U.S. military personnel and foreign nationals working with the U.S. government. They also argue that his actions violated the law and that he should be held accountable. So, which is it? Is Julian Assange a hero or a villain? The truth is that it's more complicated. As with most things in life, the answer lies somewhere in between. Assange's actions were undoubtedly controversial, and there are valid arguments on both sides of the debate. However, there are a few key points that are worth considering. Firstly, it's important to remember that whistleblowers play an important role in holding governments and institutions accountable. With whistleblowers, we might know about the misconduct and corruption behind closed doors. However, it's also important to remember that there are legal and ethical guidelines that whistleblowers should follow when they choose to speak out. Secondly, it's worth considering the impact of Assange's actions. While there is no doubt that the information he released was important, there are also real-world consequences to consider. Lives were put at risk, and relationships between nations were damaged. It's not enough to say that the ends justify the means. We must consider how our actions impact others. Thirdly, it's worth examining the legal issues surrounding Assange's actions. In 2010, the U.S. government launched an investigation into WikiLeaks. In 2012, Assange sought asylum at the Ecuadorian embassy in London to avoid extradition to Sweden on questionable charges of sexual assault. In 2019, he was forcibly removed from the embassy and arrested by British police. He is currently being held in a UK prison while the US government seeks his extradition to face charges of violating the Espionage Act. Assange's legal situation is complicated, and there are valid arguments on both sides of the debate. Those who believe he should be extradited argue that he violated the law and should be held accountable for his actions. Those who believe that he should not be extradited argue that he is a journalist and a publisher, and that the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution protects him. Some people believe that Assange is a hero because he exposed the truth about the U.S. government's misconduct and war crimes. They argue that he is a brave whistleblower who sacrificed his freedom to bring important information to the public. They also argue that his actions have inspired other whistleblowers to come forward and expose corruption and wrongdoing. Others believe Assange is a villain because he risks lives by releasing classified information. They argue that his actions compromised national security and endangered the lives of U.S. military personnel and foreign nationals. They also argue that his actions violated the law and that he should be held accountable for his actions. It's important to recognize that the truth is rarely black and white, and that there are valid arguments on both sides of the debate. However, one clear thing is that Assange's actions have had far-reaching consequences, and that the debate around his actions and the role of whistleblowers in society is far from over. So what do you think? Is Julian Assange a hero or a villain? Ultimately, that's a question that each of us has to answer for ourselves. It's a complex issue, and there are no easy answers. However, what's clear is that Assange's actions have forced us to grapple with important questions about the role of journalism in society, the limits of free speech, and the responsibilities of those who choose to expose the truth. Whether you believe that he is a hero or a villain, there's no denying that his actions have profoundly impacted the world around us. As we move forward, it's important to continue the conversation about the role of whistleblowers in society. While there are legal and ethical guidelines that whistleblowers should follow, it's clear that they play an important role in holding those in power accountable. At the same time, it's important to recognize their actions' potential consequences and weigh them carefully. We also need to discuss the limits of free speech and the responsibilities that come with the power to disseminate information. While free speech is a fundamental right, it's not absolute. We need to consider how our words and actions impact others, and be willing to take responsibility for those consequences. Finally, we need to consider the role of technology in the modern world. The internet and social media have made it easier than ever to disseminate information. Still, they have also made it easier for bad actors to manipulate public opinion and spread disinformation, like in the Fox News defamation case, which I covered in my previous video. So if you haven't seen that video, you should check it out. As we continue to grapple with these issues, it's important to remember that technology is a tool, and that we have a responsibility to use it wisely and ethically. In conclusion, the debate about Julian Assange is far from over, and there are valid arguments on both sides of the debate. Whether you believe that he is a hero or a villain, it's clear that his actions have forced us to grapple with important questions about the role of whistleblowers, the limits of free speech, and the responsibilities that come with the power to disseminate information. As we continue to navigate these complex issues, it's important to approach the conversation with an open mind and a willingness to listen to different perspectives. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you at the next one.